Hello and welcome back to another Magic the Gathering EDH deck tech idea. Today we are taking a look at Ragost, Deft Gastronaut, a 2-mana 2/2 lobster, which is such a cool and unique Boros commander that I definitely had to build. First of all, artifacts you control are foods in addition to their other types and have for 2 mana tapping them and sacrificing them you gain free life. Furthermore, he has an activated ability because for 1 mana and tapping him and sacrificing a food, he deals 3 damage to each opponent. Furthermore, at the beginning of each end steps, he checks if you've gained life this turn, and if you did so, you untap him. This turns him into a really cool Boros burn commander, which has a lot of synergies with Lifegain strategies and also artifacts. For this deck to work, we need a bunch of artifacts that we can sacrifice into Ragost, which is why we play a few of the following cards. First up is Stridehanger Automaton, a 3-mana 1/4, and Thopters you control get +1/+1. It also has a replacement effect because if 1 or more artifact tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus an additional 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying are created instead. Sure, this is no token creation by itself, but it powers up all of your other token generators, which basically makes it an auto-include in this deck. Then we have Weapons Manufacturing, a 2-mana enchantment, and whenever a non-token artifact you control enters, create a colorless artifact token named Munitions with when this token leaves the battlefield it deals 2 damage to any target. This can provide extra burn damage when you use Ragost ability and sacrifice the munition token to its ability to maybe take out a few pesky creatures on the battlefield, or to use some additional burn on the threat on the table. We play Illustrious Wanderglyph, a 5-mana 2/2 with Ascent, and other artifact creatures you control get +2/+2 as long as you have the City's Blessing. Then it also says at the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature token. Illustrious Wanderglyph provides a great token generation for our deck, and in addition to that, it also provides an alternative win con due to its Anthem effect, so we can overrun our opponents at some point with a huge army of artifact creatures. If we are playing an artifact deck, we definitely have to play Academy Manufacturer, a 3-mana 1/3, and if you would create a clue, food, or treasure token, instead create one of each. For repeatable token creation, we play Loyal Apprentice, a 2-mana 2/1 with haste, and Lieutenant, so at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying, and that token gains haste until end of turn. A card from the Doctor Who set that does a lot of work in this deck is Astrid Peeve, a 2-mana 2/2, and whenever she enters or attacks, create a food token. Furthermore, whenever you sacrifice a clue or food, she explores. Now that we have some token creation enabled, we also want to make sure to always untap Ragost in each of our opponent's end steps, so we can use his activated ability as often as possible in a turn cycle. This is why we play Pristine Talisman, a 3-mana artifact, you can tap it to add a colorless mana and also gain 1 life. This mana rock might be used very often during your turn to untap Ragost, simply because you want to pay for a few other synergistic spells. Probably the best card in this deck is Basilisk Collar, a 1-mana artifact equipment, and equip creature as Death Touch and Lifelink. If this one is equipped to Ragost, he will gain Lifelink, and with his activated ability, he will also Lifelink you up, which will always trigger his triggered ability in each end step to untap him. A great protection spell in this deck is Restoration Magic, a 1-mana instant, and for 0 additional mana, target permanent gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. We will most likely always use the +1 mode if we have to protect something on our board, because target permanent gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, and you gain free life, which means that you will protect your game plan and then also untap Ragost again. Its final mode for 4 additional mana says permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, and you gain 6 life. As we also need to handle our opponent's boards, we play Lightning Helix, a 2-mana instant, it deals 3 damage to any target and you gain free life. Another card that can help you to untap Ragost during your turn is Thrilling Discovery, a 2-mana sorcery, you gain 2 life and then you may discard 2 cards which you don't need, and if you do, you draw 3 cards. We also play Soul's Attendant, a 1-mana 1/1, and whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you may gain 1 life. This also counts for your opponent's creatures, so if they want to follow their game plan, you are also allowed to follow your game plan. Let's talk about repeatable card advantage. We play Caretaker's Talent, a 3-mana enchantment class, and on its first level, whenever 1 or more tokens you control enter, draw a card, this ability triggers only once each turn, which is an extremely powerful effect, especially in a deck like this one, where for example Illustrious Wanderglyph creates a token in each opponent's upkeep. For 1 white mana, you can level it up to level 2, and when this class becomes level 2, create a token that's a copy of target token you control. And for 4 mana, you can level it up to level 3, where it says creature tokens you control get +2/+2, which is a nice anthem and also an alternative win con. We play Thopter Shop, a 3-mana artifact, and whenever 1 or more artifact creatures you control die, draw a card, this ability triggers only once each turn. Furthermore, for 3 mana and tapping it, we can create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. A really helpful card in this deck deck is Trading Post, a 4 mana artifact, and for 1 mana and tapping it and discarding a card you can gain 4 life, which can untap Ragost. For 1 mana and tapping it you can pay 1 life to create a 0/1 white goat creature token, which is great in combination with Caretaker's Talent. Another activated ability is for 1 mana tapping it and sacrificing a creature to return target artifact card from your graveyard to your hand, as there are a bunch of synergistic artifact cards that at some point will end up in your graveyard. And its last activated ability says for 1 mana tapping it and sacrificing an artifact you draw a card, which can also be repeatable card advantage in this deck. We play Halia, Guided by Light, a 3 mana 3/3, and whenever she or another creature or artifact you control enters, you gain 1 life. Furthermore, at the beginning of your end step, draw a card if you gain 3 or more life this turn, and you can also warp this creature for 1 mana. She gains you life whenever basically anything enters the battlefield on your side, and can provide card advantage in your end step if you have gained enough life, which may turn auto include in this deck. We play the Gaffer, a 3 mana 2/3, and at the beginning of each end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, draw a card, which is also possible in this deck easily. Last but not least, we play Well of Lost Dreams, a 4 mana artifact, and whenever you gain life, you may pay X, where X is less than or equal to the amount of life you've gained, and if you do, draw X cards. As soon as this one is on the battlefield, it doesn't matter how much life you've gained, due to the fact that you gain a bunch of life over the course of the game, you will definitely draw a few cards from this one. You want to win more? You get it. We play Carddraw's Incinerator, a 6 mana 6/6, and this spell costs X less to cast, where X is the total amount of non-combat damage dealt to your opponents this turn, which means that you can easily cheat this one out for just 1 mana due to Ragost activated ability. It has Trample, and what makes it so strong is its triggered ability, because whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, Carddraw's Incinerator deals that much damage to target creature or planeswalker that player controls, which means that if you activate Ragost while Carddraw's Incinerator is on the battlefield, you will deal 3 damage to each opponent, and then you will be able to deal 3 damage to one of each of your opponent's creatures or planeswalkers. In my version of the deck you will find a bunch of token creation, which is also why I've added City on Fire, an 8 mana enchantment with Convoke, and if a source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals triple that damage instead. This can definitely win you the game on the spot, or at least within 1 turn cycle. Another card that I added to this deck is Scrap Heap, a 3 mana artifact, and whenever an artifact or enchantment is put into your graveyard from play, you gain 1 life. This is basically a 2-card combo with Ragost, simply because as soon as you activate his ability, an artifact will hit your graveyard, which will gain you 1 life, which will untap Ragost in the next end step. And last but not least, I have added Nuka-Cola Vending Machine, a 3 mana artifact, and for 1 mana and tapping it, you can create a food token. But even stronger is its triggered ability, because whenever you sacrifice a food, create a tapped treasure token. This can accelerate you really quickly. In addition to that, the tapped treasure token will also be a food in addition to its other types, which means that this card alone will always provide you a steady flow of artifacts that you can sacrifice into Ragost. Alright guys, these were a few cards that I would play in Ragost, Deft Gastronaut. Let me know which cards you would add to the deck, which legendary creature I should feature next. Make sure to check out my full deck list in the notes below, and then I would say see you in the next one. Goodbye guys.